Let's talk about Hitler.
That'll make sense later.
I'm immaculately conceived.
I don't know what to do.
I swear I'm not stupid.
Take it or leave it. Sometimes you just want to leave it.
If I gotta borrow my mom's underwear, I'm borrowing her underwear.
You just, yeah.
Misa likes the Jar Jar Binks.
I'm not gonna edit it out.
Oh no.
I don't know. Like, I think it was pretty great. Just staying on the
Sucks to
planet.
suck.
Why are you saying it with a question mark?
Clap, bitch.
All right. 3, 2, 1. Action.
And we're live. I'm Anna.
And I'm Jessica.
And this is Why Are You Yelling? Welcome back to another episode. We are not doing a race review again because we're still in the middle of our 2-week break.
Yeah.
But we are going to talk about what the freak is going on with Red Bull.
Yeah.
There was breaking news a couple of days right after the British GP.
Mm-hmm.
And Red Bull basically released a statement that said effective immediately, Christian Horner was no longer their team principal and CEO. He was relinquishing all duties and roles related to that. And
Effective immediately.
And that was pretty much it. They announced that Laurent Mekies, who was the team principal at Racing Bulls, which is like considered the junior/sister team to Red Bull, he was promoted to CEO and team principal of Red Bull.
Mm-hmm.
Alan Permane has been appointed as the new team principal for Racing Bulls. So we had some shuffling around. And basically, we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
We're going to dive into Christian Horner's kind of legacy at Red Bull. We're going to talk about some reasons why this may have come about.
Mm-hmm.
Effective immediately.
Yeah, effective immediately.
We're gonna give you a pretty good breakdown of all that and if there were rumors or if there's speculation and all that stuff. We're gonna talk about, the new team principal and CEO at Red Bull, Laurent Mekies. We'll give you kind of a breakdown of him and his kind of rise to where he is now, and also Alan Permane. We'll talk about his background. And there's also some news about Yuki Tsunoda.
It's a lot of Red Bull news, so a lot to cover. So it might be a bit odd because a lot of times we're just steadily yapping away. We have a very nice script.
We've got a structured breakdown.
Yes, for organizational purposes because there's so much information. It's crazy. So we can just hop into the Christian Horner being let go news. So Red Bull put out an official statement on their Instagram, and Christian Horner also put out an official statement. So I will read the Red Bull statement. So this is from the Red Bull Racing Instagram. After 20 years with the team, Christian Horner departs Oracle Red Bull Racing as team principal and CEO. We thank him for his tireless and exceptional work. He has been instrumental in building this team into one of the most successful in Formula One. 8 Drivers' World Championships, 6 Constructors' Championships, 124 wins, 107 pole positions, 287 podium finishes. Thank you for everything, Christian. You will forever remain an important part of our team's history.
That was nice.
That was very professional and factual.
So for Christian Horner's statement, this is coming from his Instagram account. He posted it about a week ago as of this recording.
Mm-hmm.
So he says, after an incredible journey of 20 years together, it is with a heavy heart that today I say goodbye to the team I've absolutely loved. Every one of you, the amazing people at the factory, have been the heart and soul of everything that we have achieved. Win and lose, every step of the way, we have stood by each other as one, and I will never forget that. It's been a privilege being part of and leading this epic team, and I am so proud of our collective accomplishments and you all. Thanks to the amazing partners and fans who have enabled us to go racing. Your support has helped grow the team from its humble beginnings to an F1 powerhouse that laid claim to 6 Constructors' Championships and 8 Drivers' Championships. Equally, thank you to our rivals with whom there would be no racing at all. You've pushed us, challenged us, and enabled us to achieve accolades we never dreamed possible. The competition has made every victory sweeter and every setback an opportunity to develop and grow. Formula One is a sport built on relentless ambition, passion, and respect. The rivalries have been fierce, but the mutual drive to innovate and raise the bar is what has made this journey so special. It's been an honor to be part of this incredible era of motorsport. I leave with immense pride in what we've achieved and also with what's in the pipeline for 2026, and huge respect for everyone who's made F1 the pinnacle it is today. Christian. And then he just lists the accolades that they collected over his tenure there.
I feel like it was a shock, but it felt like one of those things that you read that even though you knew it was a possibility, for some reason you just honestly never really thought it would happen. Like, you just kind of felt like this person there kind of was almost invincible in a way.
He's been with the team so long since they joined Formula One.
Yeah.
For over 20 years. He was the longest tenured team principal in the paddock up until recently.
Yeah. So I feel like everybody was surprised, but also not. Like, this really weird feeling of almost like, damn, really?
But maybe it was more surprising the timing, because there have been, and we'll get into it, but there have been so many sort of things bubbling under the surface, and sort of different things kind of coming together in just the right way that kind of made it to where it's like, okay, yeah, like it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
I think maybe the timing was a little surprising.
Yeah, because the timing is what everybody's talking about. And I mean, the biggest thing is the rumors with Mercedes and Max. It might be like the driving point. But there's a lot. We have a bunch of reasons that are listed that we'll go over. Something interesting that I thought was that Sky Sports F1's Martin Brundle revealed that when he spoke to Christian Horner, Christian told him that he was given no reason for his release by Red Bull. So I'm sure he is well aware of what reasons there are. Even if they didn't officially tell him why, I'm sure it's not like this conversation hasn't been happening. If it's happening publicly, God forbid what's happening privately. So, but the good thing is we have a list of reasons as to why.
And a lot of this is speculation. It's rumor. Yes. It's not everything is 100% confirmed.
No.
A lot of it does come from things people have intuited from, statements that people involved with Red Bull have said.
Yeah.
It's basically putting two and two together with certain things that people have said.
I mean, pretty much each reason is a factual thing that has happened. It's speculation if that's why he's been let go. Mm-hmm. So a lot of this information I pulled from Sky Sports F1 Nigel Chu. He is a sports journalist, and he wrote a very amazingly detailed article about this, and it just felt like he really wrapped it all up in a nice little blanket for us. Mm-hmm. So
thank you very much
for
your hard work.
And so I pretty much just pulled from there. So if you are interested in that article, well, we'll have it in the link in the description. Now we can link it. So the first one is internal power struggles, and I think this will probably be the only reason we're going to go into maybe a little bit of excruciating detail on for just a second, because I think a lot of people get the power struggle thing misconstrued, at least on the everyday conversation of F1, right? Diehard F1 fans that have been following a very long time are probably already aware of this. It's going to be a lot of the newcomers, like even like me and you, and, you know, maybe just this year, maybe the past 2 or 3 years, like they're not aware of how Red Bull itself is actually structured. Most people, I think, when they hear power struggle, they think Christian and Helmut Marko, because they're the ones always in the media. It's the people actually that are not talking in the media that hold the power. So let's talk about that. So the background on Red Bull's ownership structure. So Red Bull GmbH is the parent company, and it is split between two families. 49% is owned on the Austrian side, led by Mark Mateschitz, son of the Red Bull founder Dietrich Mateschitz, who passed away a few years ago, which his passing essentially is what started to cause the rift between the two owners of Red Bull.
Yeah, so basically my understanding is that Dietrich was the one that was sort of the peacekeeper.
Yeah.
He was able to sort of balance everything and keep people kind of just going with, keep them, it's like get with the program and stay with the program, you know? And so he was the one that kind of smoothed everything over. And then he passed away, and then it's like everything just started to, he was the tape. Mm-hmm. And then he passed away, and all the tape got ripped off, and everything started to crack. Yeah. Or at least the cracks were exposed.
Yeah. And so the other side is, so 51%. So the primary ownership of Red Bull is the Thai side, led by Chileum Uvidia, son of Red Bull co-founder Chileo Uvidia. So the 51% majority gives the Thai side the final say, making Uvidia's support crucial for Horner's survival. So basically, Christian was always leaning towards the Thai side to pretty much keep his role safe. So once the Dietrich passed away, the rumor pretty much was that Christian was trying to get way more power than he had before, almost trying to take advantage of maybe a troubling time in leadership trying to maybe take upon a more leadership role within the company itself, not just as team principal. And for a while, he had the Thai side support. So it just kind of kept this really weird environment that was clearly struggling and clearly had like bad feelings towards one another. And the reason all that matters is so like we said, after Dietrich's death in 2022, tension quietly grew between both ownerships of the camp. Horner had historically leaned on his strong relationship with Uvidia to retain his power. So an example of him having a strong relationship with the Thai side is after Christian was sort of cleared of all wrongdoing and that scandal he was a part of where he was accused of allegedly having an inappropriate relationship with a Red Bull employee that he was controlling and things like that. Once he was cleared of that by Red Bull, Uvidia was at his side at a race, basically. So they've always been pretty close to one another.
And that's a very public display. Like,
yes.
You could say, oh, well, they're just at a race together. That doesn't really mean anything. Oh, no.
It means everything.
It means everything. People in positions of power like this, especially involved majorly in the background of running a company, senior leadership, things like that, when they're not really super public, when they do come out in public and it's public facing in this specific sort of context, they're making a statement.
Yes.
Like, it's not just a coincidence that it was timed this way. It was very intentional to be like, no, we stand with Christian and we support him. Like that wasn't just a statement to the world. That was a statement to Red Bull. Mm-hmm. Oh, to the Austrian side.
Yes.
Yeah, to the whole company, to everybody.
Mm-hmm. So that's really what that was. That's what I would assume really more of what it's about. But now in 2025, it seems that the Thai support has disappeared.
Either it's
gone.
Disappeared, or for whatever reason, it no longer matters because Christian Horner has been dismissed from his role with the team.
Yes. So before we kind of delve into the internal power struggle still, one other thing to mention is the other key players in this power struggle, right? We have Helmut Marko, a senior motorsport advisor aligned with the Austrian side. So his position came under fire last year amid rumors he may have been connected to the message leak scandal. So for those who are not aware, when Christian was cleared by Red Bull of any wrongdoing, essentially, with that employee.
Yeah, because it was like they were investigating basically like workplace, like sexual harassment type stuff.
Yes.
Red Bull was doing an internal investigation of that. And they basically decided from the results of that internal investigation, they said they weren't taking any further action, that they cleared Christian. And then after that was kind of announced is when there was a leak, which I'm like, it's not a leak if it's intentional, I feel like. But basically, I think every team principal at the time and most major F1 journalists received emails that had it was basically, I don't know if it was screenshots or transcripts or what, but basically they received emails that showed alleged messages between Christian and this Red Bull employee that filed the complaint against him.
Yes. And so the rumor was that Helmut Marko did that, which is why his position came under fire when that happened.
And he would have done this as an effort to push public sentiment even more against Christian.
Yes, because at that point, if you're trying to play this game within Red Bull, you have to make Christian so undesirable publicly that the Thai side has no option but to get rid of him. So that was the rumor at the time. And if you're not aware, Helmut Marko and Christian Horner are often not in agreement with one another. So it was just adding more tension. Now, but talks with Oliver Mintzlaff. He is the CEO of corporate projects. So he saved Helmut Marko's job and apparently it was likely due from pressure from Max Verstappen, who warned he would not race if Marko was removed.
So for those who don't know, a little bit more information or background about Max's relationship with Helmut Marko. So basically, Max credits Helmut Marko for getting him into Formula One. He has said on record that if it were not for Helmut Marko, he would not have gotten his seat in Formula One. He says that Helmut Marko was critical and crucial to him getting that seat in Formula One. And he has always said that he owes everything to Helmut.
So that is sort of the background between Helmut and Max. So also the CEO that we talked about, Oliver Mintzlaff, he is seen as a central decision maker from the Red Bull GmbH side as well. So having his support or like having what he says is also like very important, holds a lot of weight. Yeah, so that's sort of just the background on how the internal struggles, like when people are talking about internal struggles, like it's really going internally. It's not just at face value what's being reported by the media because Helmut Marko said one thing or Jos Verstappen said one thing. Like it goes far deeper than that. And so that's why we wanted to just sort of mention like what those power struggles actually are. So like we've already, like just to like sum it all up, Red Bull's top leadership has been divided for a while. Helmut Marko and Red Bull CEO Oliver Mintzlaff were reportedly pushing for Horner to go, and the final decision came down from the Thai ownership group, signaling a serious internal shift. So something has happened within Red Bull to make them decide they need to move on.
So the next speculated reason as to why Christian Horner was let go from Red Bull is the decline in performance. So, you look at Christian Horner's 20-year career with Red Bull. They obviously have not always been the powerhouse that they have been in recent years. So over, when they first started, up until, Vettel won his 4 drivers' championships in a row with Red Bull. Up until that point, I don't know that Red Bull was like king of the castle. They're kind of like midfield team-ish. Not the best. They were kind of considered a joke when they first came into Formula One because they're like, what does a energy drink manufacturer know about cars?
Yeah.
Building, constructing, driving, racing, like any of it. What do they know? But, so I say that to say that Christian Horner has been with the team when they were not the best.
He started with them. I mean, he literally went, he was the team principal when Red Bull started.
Yeah. And so he has been there the whole way through the development. He helped guide and basically raise this team from infancy. And, you look at Red Bull's performance this past year, Max has struggled with the car at times. Whoever has been the second driver at Red Bull has struggled this year and last year with the car. So whatever direction they took the car in obviously is not working. So there has been a noticeable decline in performance. They didn't win the Constructors' Championship last year because you don't have that second driver scoring the points to help contribute to that. So, but Max did win the Drivers' Championship last year. He's won it 4 years in a row now. So there's sort of you're like, okay, yeah, there's a recent decline in performance, but Christian has been with the team when they weren't doing so hot.
Yeah, I wonder if that's also because it's one thing when the team already isn't hot and then you bring it up, right? It's another thing when the team is hot and has been hot and now the performance is declining towards the end of regulations. If you start new regulations and the car's not so hot, it's sort of like, okay, well, we got it wrong and now we have something to work towards. I mean, Red Bull was like killing it 2023, all that, and then we get into 2024 and they're doing fairly well till all of a sudden they're not, and they haven't been able to find their footing to find that performance, like that dominant performance sense. And so I think that's where like it's a lot more dramatic when you work like 1 second you were on top of the world and next you fell off and you cannot get back up there, and the only reason you do is because of your driver.
And I think Formula One is a very fast-paced world in terms of you're only as good as your last race sort of vibe, So I think that you can always expect there to be some growing pains. Like there's going to be ups and downs basically from season to season. You can't always just be on this high all the time. I mean, Mercedes is a perfect example of that, where they were so dominant for, years, for almost a decade with Lewis Hamilton. And then all of a sudden there was a drop off in performance and Lewis just wasn't able to achieve what he was used to.
But his teammate was always near him. I think that's where you get really towards like, what has happened here? Because like you said, like we've had other teams that have just kind of, they were on top of the world and then suddenly they weren't. But I think there's a weird representation within Red Bull where that second car cannot, and which is just a testament to Max.
Yeah. I mean, he's just unreal.
Yeah.
And his ability to put that car where it has no place being.
Yes. And so I think,
because his teammates are not bad drivers.
No.
They've won races or they've been very successful at other teams. And then for whatever reason, they get put in the second Red Bull car and then they just suck ass.
Yeah. And so I think, that decline in performance is it's not just like, oh, well, they started to suck, so they had to get rid of him. I'm like, I think it's like a multitude of like reasons of what decision making was made to where we could not recover. Like we should have had a few bad races and then somehow recovered and then won the constructors last year. Like, what has happened decision-wise to make this performance decline? We just can't catch up.
And what's even worse is they have the sister team, the junior team, Racing Bulls, that even though they're not winning races, they're consistently doing pretty okay. And whatever driver lineup they've had, because Red Bull likes to play musical chairs with their driver seats.
Yeah.
Between those two teams, whatever lineup they've had have been close enough to each other, right?
Yeah.
It's not the disparity, the gap that there is between Max and whoever his teammate is.
Yes.
So and we talked about this a long time ago, like months ago, about it seems that the Racing Bulls car is a better car overall compared to the Red Bull car because you get more consistent performances from the drivers, and they're able to achieve more.
Yeah, it's an easier car, it seems, to drive across the board for like multiple drivers. And you need a very specific type of driver that could drive that second Red Bull car.
Yeah, and then that decline in performance, we're trying to figure out where it's coming from, and that leads us into the next point, which would be...
We've had big names leave Red Bull. We've had Adrian Newey leave Red Bull for Aston Martin and Jonathan Wheatley leave for Sauber. And the funny thing is, Sauber's doing a lot better this year now, more than we ever expected. And Aston Martin, has been doing pretty well the past few races. Is that all a coincidence? Who's to say? But losing key players like that clearly, not only is it just a loss and now you have to fill a spot, you also have to ask, why did they leave? Mm-hmm. And you could easily say, oh, well, they were just ready for a new project. But I think if you are working for a company that is showing such issues internally, you get to a point where you're not going to have the resume you want anymore. The car I built didn't win the constructors. He wasn't able to win. He wasn't able to do this. Like, it gets to the point where it reflects on you, and it's just not what you want anymore.
If you're making career moves, you leave on a high, right? So when you're at the top, it makes sense that when Red Bull in 2023 is killing it, your resume is the best it's looked ever. So if you're a critical part of that team, it would make sense to then be talking to other teams to basically jump ship and be like, okay, I'm doing so well here. It looks great on my resume. Now let me talk to these other teams that could potentially offer me more money or more stability because they're not having the same sort of fracturing internally that it seems Red Bull is.
Yeah.
And so it could be just a coincidence that that's just kind of the way that it works when you're trying to move up in your career.
Mm-hmm.
But you would expect teams to poach some people or, entice them to come over to join you and your staff. But when you have such critical people, key members of the team, that a lot of people would attribute a heavy amount of the success to their role within the team. When you have those people leaving, it does raise questions about why.
Yeah, because I could see like, oh yeah, we just poached them. If there's two, like, I'm sure that's not the first time someone's tried to buy Adrian Newey. Mm-hmm. I'm sure it's not. But right now, where you have this very public struggle internally that Red Bull's having, it's just, you just kind of have to believe what's happening. You could make oh no, it's all a coincidence. No, I find it hard to believe that it is. I mean, if enough people are running out of the building, and then you see smoke on the building, but they're saying, no, it's not because it's on fire. I think the building might be on fire and you didn't want to just leave for fun. I think you were trying not to get burned alive.
Mm-hmm.
So, another thing that this will lead into the next point is it could have also, maybe they weren't necessarily pleased with Red Bull's internal investigation and handling of that, of that type of behavior. Not really obviously we don't know what's true and what's not true. I clearly wasn't there. And he was found by Red Bull of no wrongdoing. However, that case actually is not over. It's just not being handled publicly anymore. There's still some court that is still handling it privately that has a media gag on it, from my understanding. So it might not necessarily be over, and there could be a ticking time bomb that maybe internally more people are aware of, that they don't want to be there when it happens.
So just to do kind of in where we're standing with where we're at with the misconduct allegations against Christian Horner, just because we talked a little bit already about it. So basically the woman who was a Red Bull employee that accused Christian Horner of the misconduct Red Bull did 2 internal investigations, and through those investigations, Red Bull cleared him of any wrongdoing and said, basically, we're not taking this any further. Like, it is what it is. And then the employee disputed the independence of one of the lawyers who conducted the investigations, which again, the investigations are internal, but they're paid for by Red Bull. So you can see where there might be some sort of bias against her in the interest of Red Bull in that sort of instance. Like any sort of internal investigation in that regard, unless you're using external outside people to do the investigation and conduct it, it's just there's too much room for bias in that scenario.
Mm-hmm. So it was 2 internal investigations. They didn't hire an external company to do an investigation?
So what I'm reading is that, yeah, after 2 internal investigations carried out by Red Bull GmbH, the British team principal was cleared of the accusations in 2024.
Yeah.
So I think they did one, and then she might have appealed it.
Yeah.
And then did another.
Okay.
So basically, after that happened, they did those 2 internal investigations. She disputed the independence of one of the lawyers who conducted the investigation. And so the woman, she's been on home leave. She's been at home on paid leave since the whole thing started, basically. Mm-hmm. And so it was intended that the British Labour Court would address the case in February next year. So I guess 2026. But that was something that received little to no attention in the British media or media in general. And apparently the judge reportedly, at the request of Christian Horner and Red Bull, prohibited the British media from reporting on the case. So there's like a gag order on talking about it at all in the public. But it's now emerging that it's still ongoing. Like the case is still ongoing, and Red Bull and Christian Horner are trying to avoid a potentially public lawsuit. And so they're kind of they are in negotiations reportedly with the woman to come up with a settlement. And that's kind of where they're at now. And the amount is reported to be in the millions of pounds.
And it was just interesting because it's kind of like, he was found of no wrongdoing. Then the text messages were leaked to the media and to all the team principals. Then this is going on, and that not a lot of people are even aware of because of the gag order. Mm-hmm. So it seems like a ticking time bomb, really.
And there were a lot of people that were calling for Christian Horner's dismissal when these allegations first surfaced.
Yeah.
And even through the first and second internal investigations. And a lot of people called bullshit on him being cleared of any wrongdoing, especially after the alleged text messages were leaked. And so this is just one more thing added on to the whole mess of everything.
Yeah, it's one more thing that Red Bull has to shield Christian from and protect him from.
And protect themselves.
Protect themselves. But it's just like, now you're already maybe you're not happy with some decision making. Now you have a scandal, which was, sometimes it's like, damn, dude, that was a choice. You are not a good decision maker, huh?
And it's one thing if you're winning and on top of the world and earning people a lot of money, people will forgive you and excuse a lot of bad behavior.
Yeah, when this was all closed out, they were winning.
Yeah, and they were ignoring it. It seemed like they were just kind of like, it is what it is. We're going to keep business as usual and handle the stuff in the background is what it seemed that Red Bull was taking that approach.
Yeah.
But as soon as you start that decline in performance, as soon as things start to turn a little south, then all this other stuff, it's like it becomes like you have to, it's like you don't have the right anymore to have made a mistake.
Exactly.
Or to have done or made a choice that negatively reflects upon yourself and the company. Like you don't have the right to do that. Like you don't have any grace anymore.
Yeah.
Because you're not winning.
Exactly. So somebody who has been very publicly outspoken about Christian Horner and their disapproval of him and just very publicly does not like him is Jos Verstappen. He was even when the allegations happened, I'm pretty sure Jos was one of the ones that are like, fire him. See ya.
Yeah,
Goodbye.
And Jos is Max's father,
yes.
by the way.
So he is also a former Formula One driver. But he's publicly said to the media that the team was falling apart under Christian Horner. He has been just a very vocal person about Christian. And so now Last year, this happened with Max, where it was rumored maybe he would go to Mercedes, and a lot of those rumors swirled around Joss, trying to make it happen because he was just done. He wanted Max to pretty much be done with Red Bull.
Yeah, Joss was like caught, quote unquote.
Yeah, having a meeting with Toto or something.
Yeah, and some people say, oh, that was just to fuel the speculation, and because he's just like fucking with Christian Horner, like.
Or he's trying to fuck with Red Bull and go make it do what do you want to do, which now kind of leads to this year, the same conversations happening of Max leaving Red Bull. And so some of this, even though a lot of people were like, oh, it's done, it's a done deal, Red Bull's falling apart, Christian's gone, Max is going to bounce. Some people have the opinion that getting rid of Christian was to keep Max. So it was to keep the Verstappen camp happy, and that became more important than keeping Christian Horner.
And you know, it's a very real possibility. And I'm not saying this is true. I'm just saying this is more speculation. It's a very real possibility that Jos Verstappen was acting as a mouthpiece to express what Max actually was thinking or feeling when Max was not in a position to do so or had no desire to do so. And so he's not one to really delve into the messy political side of it. He just wants to race. However, if he was not happy with the direction of the team or with the allegations or Christian's handling of the situation for whatever reason, he could be having those conversations with his father. And his father could just be acting as a mouthpiece to say the things that Max either doesn't want to say publicly or that he can't say publicly because of his contract with Red Bull.
Yeah.
Right? Because I would imagine as part of your contract with any team, you can't make disparaging remarks about the team. You can acknowledge struggles and try to be, we're struggling, but we'll keep fighting. And but you can't openly outright say like anything disparaging about your team. However, Jos Verstappen is, as far as I'm aware, not employed by Red Bull.
Yeah.
And not under contract with Red Bull.
No.
So he can say whatever frick he wants to say.
Yeah. And he does.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's been very critical of Christian. And I do think it could be interesting because it seems like we've already discussed Max really is loyal to Helmut. And, that could maybe it's like, listen, dude, I don't want to leave, but I can't do this anymore with how the team's being ran. And so maybe this is just that step to show Max, like, all right, we hear you. We're ready to move on as well. Like, and maybe it's just more of a, we want to change the direction of the team. We want you to see we're changing the direction of the team. And then maybe that's, please don't leave.
I mean, Max has expressed frustration with the instability within the team.
Yes.
I mean, in particular, I'm thinking of the second driver seat at Red Bull. He's had, this is his third teammate in 2 seasons.
Yeah, and as a driver too, I mean, not only is it frustrating your teammates not getting points, but I could also find it very frustrating as a driver to just see somebody in your camp treat drivers so disposable. I think that could make you really maybe not like a person to see how disposable they act like these people are.
Especially when he liked Checo.
He liked everybody, really.
I think, Max has talked about before, he had a great relationship with Checo. He thought he did, I think they worked really well together.
Yeah.
In terms of not just like getting along, but like the development of the team and input and, in the development of the car and stuff like that. I think he really got along with Checo and liked working with him. But at the end of the day, if the performance isn't there on track, the performance isn't there. And so but when they kick Checo to the curb like that, when
he was supposed to have a contract.
Yeah, and they had re-upped Checo for another year, and then we're like, haha, just kidding, peace out. They paid him out his contract. Like, that is crazy to me. Like, that to me, if I'm Max, I'm like, what are we doing? Why are we flip-flopping so much?
Exactly.
Why are we being inconsistent with our messaging, with the direction we're going to go? Like, how are you going to sign him for a contract extension but then not honor it and just pay him out? Like, that's a waste of money. And like the way all of that messiness, Max, again, does not like messiness.
No.
He doesn't.
He wants to race and he wants to go home and then he wants to sim race. He doesn't want all the drama. He barely likes talking to the media. And so, yeah.
That would be a very clear sign to me if I'm Max that like there's some shit going on here that it's not. It doesn't build confidence in me for this team and its future if this is the way that we're going to run things.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
So speaking of running things, we've got some big changes coming in 2026 for all of F1.
Mm-hmm.
And this is, again, another reason why, a potential reason why Christian would have been let go. So with new regulations and Red Bull powertrains on the horizon, the team may be looking for a reset. So for the longest time, Red Bull was using Renault engines manufactured, which basically is like also makes the engines for like Alpine.
Mm-hmm.
And then they made the switch to Honda several years ago. And so they have been running Honda engines since, I want to say it was like 2019 or so, 2020
Mm-hmm.
maybe. They've been running Honda engines for a while. Maybe 2018. Anywho, they've been running Honda engines for a while, but now Red Bull is trying to get in the game of making their own engines.
Yeah.
And so
they partnered with Ford to manufacture those. Yeah.
Yeah. Which, who knew an energy drink company would be making their own F1 engines?
Yeah. I mean, Red Bull does everything but just sell energy drinks. They're like, I'm in every sport ever.
Yeah. And so basically, it could be that they're looking to start a new chapter, start over fresh, especially with all the struggles they've had recently, the drama with the driver changes, the allegations against Christian, all the infighting behind the scenes and the power struggles. Like, it could just be that they're like, look, we just got a blank slate, start over. And 2026 is sort of the perfect moment to do that because we've got the new regulations coming in for all of F1. And so basically, by appointing a new CEO, by appointing Laurent Mekies, that kind of gives them time to get him settled into that role with the team this year, for the rest of this year, so that we're kind of getting that growing pains period out of the way and going strong into 2026.
Yes. Yeah, I definitely think doing it mid-season does make sense. It also gives Mekies the chance to really understand what the team is lacking. And, having a fresh pair of eyes could change everything. Mm-hmm. Having a different style of leadership. And clearly both camps felt this was the right move, meaning both camps being the Austrian side and the Thai side. Like, they clearly felt this was the right thing to do. So it'll be interesting to see if now that they don't have that contention between each other, what are they able to accomplish? So those are all like sort of the potential reasons Christian may have been let go. We obviously don't know for certain which of these reasons was, or if it was all of them, or if there's something we don't even know about. But that being said, even though he has been let go, Christian Horner does have a pretty powerful legacy, I would say, which we're going to delve into now. Just take a few minutes to kind of, even though Christian can sometimes be a sassy drama starter, just gets under a lot of people's skin, you can't really deny what he accomplished at Red Bull, and I think it's worth noting what his legacy at, what he's leaving. His rise to Red Bull, like why even Red Bull chose him. And yeah, so we're going to talk about that. So before Christian Horner was even in Red Bull, he began as a racing car driver competing in Formula Renault, British F3, and then International Formula 3000 in the late 1990s. He quickly realized he was never going to make it as a Formula 1 driver, so he pivoted to management. So in 1997, at just 23 years old, Horner founded Arden International, a Formula 3000 team using borrowed funds and sponsorship deals. As team boss, he built Arden into a championship-winning operation, claiming multiple titles and establishing himself as a sharp, ambitious leader, all before turning 30. So his success with Arden caught the attention of Red Bull, who were looking for someone young and bold to lead their newly acquired F1 team. So he, that's impressive. And seems like the perfect, you already took a chance buying an F1 team. Why not take a chance on this kid?
Yeah, and I mean, with Red Bull, he is, at that time, perfect fit for who they are as a company and what they're trying to do, because Red Bull is all about youth and they're all about boldness, making bold choices, bold statements. They like to push things to the extreme. And so what better statement that encompasses all of that than to bring on somebody who has had great success at such a young age. I mean, it's one of the reasons that Red Bull, I think, was pushing so hard to sign even Max Verstappen and bring him on at 17 years old in F1, because they were trying to get like the youngest Formula 1 race winner, like as a record sort of thing. Like, because they're just like,
they already had the youngest champion.
Yeah.
So
they
like, still have the youngest champion,
because they're like, we want, and again, it fits just in with them as a brand. everything just kind of lined up perfectly for them for that. So in 2005, at just 31 years old, Horner was appointed team principal of Red Bull Racing, making him the youngest team principal in F1 history at the time. His leadership made an immediate impact with top 10 finishes in his debut race, improving drastically from Jaguar's prior struggles, which we mentioned earlier that Jaguar sold their F1 team to Red Bull.
Yeah.
For a very little
For
amount.
$1, supposedly.
So one of his smartest early moves was recruiting legendary aerodynamicist Adrian Newey at the end of 2005, which, I mean, that was an incredible get for him. Adrian Newey has been in Formula One for a very long time and has an incredible success record with teams like Williams and McLaren. And so that was a huge get for Christian. Like that just, it was a brilliant move for him and for the team. And that kind of shows like Red Bull made the right choice.
Yes.
In who they selected to run their team. Because like that's just
Yeah,
crazy.
He started to build a powerhouse. So Red Bull's first podium came in 2006, and by 2009, they were fighting for championship. So within his first year, he already got more points on the board than Jaguar F1 was able to do. And now by 2006, he gets a podium. By 2009, they're fighting for championship. So we're talking just within a few years, Christian Horner's managed to turn this team into a contender, which is pretty phenomenal. And then from 2010 to 2013, Red Bull dominated Formula One, winning 4 consecutive constructors and drivers' titles with Sebastian Vettel, who, to this day, is the youngest world champion in F1 history. So once again, really just kind of hammering in the point of they love young and bold talent. Horner's leadership style combined strong technical direction with loyalty to key staff and drivers. So basically, it seemed that Christian just knew how to build an impenetrable empire, to be honest. It just seemed like he knew what people he needed to appoint to make those things happen. And he also knew how to create loyalty, which I think a lot of people underestimate.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's like it's not enough to acquire the talent. You have to keep them. And you have to make them loyal to you. And you do that by cultivating a good work environment, compensating people fairly, moving them up and giving promotions when they're deserved and earned, and acknowledging all that stuff. Like there's a lot that goes into that. And it makes you kind of wonder, like, what happened to go so wrong? Where, you know, he was able to do all of this early on. And then now it's all of that, all those same things, his decision making, his ability to acquire good talent in key roles and to keep them, to develop that loyalty to the team. Where did all of that go? It just raises the question. So after those initial championship wins with Vettel, there was a few kind of like meh seasons at Red Bull. And then we rise again with the birth of Max Verstappen.
The savior.
Our Lord and Savior. So they won the Drivers' Championship with Max in 2021, then swept both titles, so the Drivers' and the Constructors' Championships in 2022 and 2023. In 2023, the team set a record of 21 race wins in a single season, which is one of the most dominant years in Formula One history. I would argue that makes for a pretty boring season when you just have the same team that won 21 out of...
We know how you feel about winners. That's why you're a Ferrari fan. Now down to the fall.
The rise with Max and then the fall.
Yes. So in 2024 and 2025, Red Bull's performance began to slide. I would argue really just in 2024 it started to slide, and in 2025 sometimes it spikes, but it's just steadily going down.
It's rough.
The car became unpredictable, and Verstappen was often carrying the team alone. The team also saw a wave of key departures, Adrian Newey, Rob Marshall, Jonathan Wheatley, raising questions about internal stability, which we spoke about earlier. And at the same time, Horner became the subject of a misconduct investigation. Though cleared, leaked private messages caused public and internal backlash. Rumors of tension with Max Verstappen's camp grew, especially with Verstappen's father, Jos, publicly criticizing Horner's leadership, which we all kind of spoke about. But timeline-wise, this is when all that started to happen.
Yeah. So since again, and some of this is just recapping what we've already talked about. So since the 2022 death of Red Bull founder Dietrich Mateschitz, internal power struggles intensified. Red Bull GmbH is split, we talked about earlier, with the 49% owned by the Austrian Mateschitz family and then kind of their camp, and then 51% owned by the Thai Uvidia family. So Christian Horner had long retained support from the Thai side, but by July 2025, that support had evaporated. And then on July 9th, 2025, Christian Horner was dismissed mid-season, ending his 2-decade reign.
Yes. And like we said earlier, and like Red Bull had already kind of said what Christian's legacy was with them, but just to recap his legacy, 8 drivers' championships, 4 with Vettel, 4 with Max Verstappen, 6 constructors' championships, 124 Grand Prix wins, took Red Bull from a pound acquisition to one of the most dominant forces in Formula One, and widely regarded as one of the most successful team principals in Formula One history. So whether you like him, whether you hate him, doesn't really matter how you feel. You can't really deny the fact that he did something pretty special with Red Bull. Now, moving on, we want to talk about who is taking over Red Bull, and that would be Laurent Mekies. So if you're not aware, he was the team principal of Racing Bulls, and he has now been promoted to Red Bull as the CEO and team principal. So we want to talk about a little bit about him and his backstory, and just so going into the weekend, you can have an idea of who he is. So Laurent Mekies was born in France in 1977. He earned a master's degree in mechanical engineering from ESTACA in Paris, a top French aerodynamical and automotive engineering school. He completed his studies at Loughborough University in the UK, a well-known training ground for Formula One engineers. He first stepped into motorsport between 2000 and 2005. He began his motorsport career in 2000 with Asia Tech, working in Formula 3 engine development. Shortly after, he entered Formula One, joining Arrow's F1 team as an engineer. In 2002, he moved to Minardi, where he became a race engineer and worked closely with several drivers: Mark Webber in 2002, Justin Wilson in 2003, Zsolt Baumgartner between 2003 and 2004, and Christian Albers in 2005. Mekies became known for his calm trackside presence and technical reliability during this early phase of his career. So he was promoted to chief engineer at Toro Rosso between 2006 and 2014. So at the end of 2005, Red Bull acquired Minardi and rebranded it as Scuderia Toro Rosso. Mekies was promoted to chief engineer, overseeing the team's vehicle performance division. He played a key role in developing the team's engineering structure as Red Bull established a full second team in F1. So he also, in 2014, Mekies joined the FIA, Formula One's governing body, as safety director. He was instrumental in implementing safety features, most notably the Halo cockpit protection device. In 2017, he was promoted to deputy race director, helping oversee operations during Grand Prix. His role required neutrality, attention to regulation, and deep technical knowledge, experience that shaped his leadership style. So in September of 2018, Mekies moved back to a team role, joining Scuderia Ferrari as sporting director. In 2019, he was promoted to lead Ferrari's track and performance department, managing engineering execution during race weekends. In 2021, he became deputy team principal and racing director, working alongside Mattia Binotto and later on, Fred Vasseur. During this time, Ferrari returned to race-winning form, taking several poles and victories with Charles Leclerc and Carlos Sainz. Mekies became a trusted leader during race operations and was deeply involved in real-time team strategy. So in 2024, he returned to the Red Bull family, though. In 2023, it was announced that Mekies would leave Ferrari, and he stepped away just before the Belgian Grand Prix at Spa. He officially began his new role in 2024 as team principal of Racing Bulls, formerly AlphaTauri, Red Bull's sister team. Mekies began overseeing team restructuring, infrastructure investments, and a new driver lineup, building Racing Bulls into a more competitive outfit. So it's interesting because we have somebody who clearly has had it. You could see his track record and see how he's improved. Every time he's been a part of something, he improves it.
Mm-hmm.
And
he just keeps getting work. He's literally working his way up and up and up and just keeps delivering.
Yeah.
And like you said, it's very clear that he joins a project, improves it, and then takes the next step
to further his career. Yeah. So why Mekies could matter in helping Red Bull? He has a lot of different layers to him. He's been an engineer. He's been an FIA official, a Ferrari strategist. He brings experience across multiple different fields, which I think I could see that being very helpful in restructuring a team. He has a driver's first mindset, it seems, having worked with a wide range of drivers since his Minardi days. He understands the balance between performance and people, which I think having somebody that has a driver first mindset, especially where it seems drivers come across as very disposable to Red Bull, could really help heal some of the issues that they've had. You need somebody that's going to support the drivers. And I think, that's something within Racing Bulls he's kind of proven.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. He seems very calm under pressure. His time as deputy race director gave him poise in high-stake environments, so he works well under pressure, staying calm under pressure, and probably maybe he won't be as mouthy. I don't know. Maybe he won't feed into stuff, because, that also, I'm sure Red Bull did not enjoy Christian doing all the time. So, now he has the chance to lead Red Bull into a new era, and now he has, and I feel like just even from reading everything he's been through, it sounds like a breath of fresh air in a way. So we'll just see how he goes. But that is sort of who is Laurent Mekies.
And now we can talk about the person taking over his former role at Racing Bulls.
Yes.
So Alan Permane is now the new team principal at Racing Bulls. So he was born in 1967 in England. He joined Benetton F1 in 1989. So he would have been about 22 years old. He initially worked in electronics and test engineering before stepping into race engineering in 1996. As a race engineer from 1997 to 2006, so roughly 10 years, he worked with drivers such as Gene Alessi, Jarno Trulli, and Giancarlo Fisichella. It's worth noting that he was considered the mastermind behind Trulli's stunning Monaco GP win in 2004. So in 2007, Permane was promoted to chief race engineer during the team's evolution from Benetton to Renault. With the team's rebrand to Lotus and later Alpine, he became chief operating officer in 2011, then sporting director in 2012, leading race operations through continuous organizational changes. So that was a very... there was a lot of change going on during, that I want to say that's like 6-7 years time with the team, which is now Alpine as we know it.
Yeah.
So he was kind of there. It seems like almost like a stabilizing sort of presence, like able to kind of figure out and maneuver their way through all these sort of restructurings and team changes. So he is known for his candid race communication. So he's famously direct on the radio, highlighted.
I remember this.
Highlighted by a message to Kimi Räikkönen in 2013, where he said, "quote, move out of the effing way," end quote. So his fire communication under pressure became kind of part of his reputation, which I love.
I love that. Especially to Iceman.
Yeah. So Kimi Räikkönen is very known for he's very stoic, known to be very stoic, except when he was on the radio and frustrated during races where he would just cuss up a storm and start yelling and hollering and hooping. And it's very funny that Permane is like giving it back to him.
Yeah.
So he was with Alpine, with the team that is known at Alpine now. So for 30 years through all their evolutions and changes. He was with them for 30 years, and then he stepped away in 2023 after the Belgian Grand Prix. And in January 2024, he joined Racing Bulls as racing director, partnering with Laurent Mekies and CEO Peter Bayer. So on July 9th, 2025, with Mekies being promoted to Red Bull Racing's team principal, Permane was named team principal of Racing Bulls. With 34 years of F1 experience, he brings rich technical expertise, strategic insight, and familiarity with high-pressure racing environments. So why his role at Racing Bulls could matter. So deep engineering and racetrack roots, his career spans from electronics engineering to top-tier race leadership. He's a master of transition, so he sustained performance through team evolutions, Benetton to Renault, Lotus, and then Alpine. Direct, decisive communicator known for tough but effective leadership on the radio, and he's a stabilizer and a strategist, positioned to bring continuity and structure to Racing Bulls ahead of F1's 2026 regulation changes.
I feel like those make sense in hindsight. You're dealing with two people that clearly know how to deal with a restructure, and yeah, I feel like that. It's interesting.
I would argue that both of them have experience in F1 that either rivals Christian Horner's or exceeds it.
Yeah. So now that about wraps up, the what happened to Christian, who's replacing him, and who's replacing Mekies at Racing Bulls. So now we can move on briefly to the rumors about Yuki Tsunoda that have come out right after the Christian Horner news.
Which I am not happy about whatsoever.
No.
Leave Yuki alone.
Exactly. Now, at the time of filming this, Red Bull has made no official announcement of this, but outlets like GP Blog and Newsweek have reported on this, is that Yuki Tsunoda and Red Bull will be parting ways with each other starting in 2026. So after this season, Red Bull will be moving on to find a new driver. Now, again, Red Bull has not made this official announcement. These are other outlets reporting that sources have told them this. So we wanted to kind of talk about Yuki's history with Red Bull and AlphaTauri, and since he'll be wrapping it up, it seems, with them, just to kind of give an overview of what his relationship with Red Bull has been. The start of Yuki's history with Red Bull began in 2019 when he joined their racing academy and started to race with them under some junior series. He was then promoted to AlphaTauri, Red Bull's sister team at the time, as a race driver in 2021, partnering with Pierre Gasly. He continued racing for AlphaTauri in 2022 and 2023, driving alongside Nick De Vries and later Daniel Ricciardo. He stayed with the team during its rebrand to Racing Bulls in 2024, and Tsunoda was promoted to Red Bull Racing, replacing Liam Lawson earlier this year. So, I mean, I think we briefly spoke about it in other episodes. A lot of Yuki's relationship with Red Bull seems to have come from Honda wanting to have a Japanese driver in Formula One.
Yeah, since Honda was supplying the engine for Red Bull.
Yeah, which I guess they were supplying it for Red Bull Racing and Red Bull. Well, now Red Bull Racing and Red Bull.
Racing Bulls.
Racing Bull. Damn, shit. Can they just pick a different name? Racing Bulls.
Racing Bulls and Red Bull Racing.
Yes, it's so... Bleh. So now the question lies why this might be happening. I couldn't tell you. I mean, it's one of those things that doesn't surprise me, but it sucks because I love Yuki.
Yeah, it's one of those things where he hasn't had the best performance with Red Bull since being promoted up to that seat earlier this season, but we can almost certainly say that's because of the car. It's not because of Yuki. He was achieving pretty well with Racing Bulls last year, and at the start of this year, he seemed to be doing okay, and was kind of positive about the direction they were going, and then he made the jump up, was brought up to the Red Bull team, and it's just not been doing great. Again, I think we can pretty confidently say it's the car and not Yuki's ability to drive the car. I think that during his time in Formula One, he's matured a lot since joining in 2021. He's matured a lot as a driver. He's shown that he can lead a team when he was with Racing Bulls.
Yuki also had an extremely successful feeder series career. I mean, he has championship titles with F4 Japanese, like the F4, so Japanese F4, the Japanese F4 East Series, and so he has 3 different championships within the Formula One feeder series. Like 3 different ones. I mean, he's been a part of multiple series. He won the FIA Rookie of the Year in 2020.
I think he's a solid midfield team driver. I don't necessarily see Yuki winning any championships. I think it could be a solid contributor to a team, especially a midfield team. But that being said, we haven't really seen what he can do in a championship contending car.
It's one of those things where I'm like, Oscar Piastri is an example of somebody who, he won championships, and now he's one of the contenders to win the F1 championship this year, So it's kind of like if you put somebody who clearly has racecraft talent in a car that is that one they can drive, that's who's to say Yuki couldn't win a championship. So
it seems like maybe I just don't know. It's kind of like we can't really say exactly why they would get rid of Yuki, but you can kind of say, well, it could be for any number of reasons, but none of them seem like strong reasons independent of each other,
I think they want to start over. I think they want to have, if I had to speculate just a little bit, maybe it's hopefully they're crossing their fingers they get to keep Max, who can, they've leaned on in the past to help them develop the car, which you lean on your driver, and that's fine. And maybe they want to bring somebody fresh in to be the other person that helps develop this new car.
But
I don't know.
Laurent Mekies is used to, he has experience working with Yuki at Racing Bulls. So if it's ultimately left up to him, he could want to keep Yuki on for at least 2026 while he's, the first year in with this team because he is used to working. Could be. Who's to say? Who's to say?
But something I found very interesting, though, is, that we all get to, like, what does this mean for Yuki's future? Where could he land? So because now we're now operating under the assumption that the rumors are true, that he will not be a part of Red Bull next year. And another reason that some of this rumor holds some water to it is because Koji Watanabe, the president of Honda, he told a outlet in Japan, as-web.jp, that he confirmed that Yuki Tsunoda will be supported through the remainder of the 2025 season. He emphasized that there are no discussions about replacing Tsunoda mid-season and that Honda remains committed to him for the year. Now, moving on to 2026, he said that Honda, since it's ending its engine partnership with Red Bull after 2025 and shifting its full focus to Aston Martin, who already have their driver lineup locked and loaded, Yuki won't have a Honda-powered seat waiting for him. So with that in mind, Honda has made it very clear that Yuki is free to sign with any other F1 team in 2026 if he wants to. They will not fight him on it, and even those powered by rival manufacturers like Cadillac or Haas. Something I would like to say, this goes back to a conversation that me and you had. I don't even know if you remember this. I don't know that it was even an F1 review episode.
Oh, this would have been like last year, at the end of last year?
Where I said Haas is now moving to Toyota.
They have a technical partnership with Toyota.
Okay, and that started
Gazoo
this
Racing.
year, didn't it?
Yeah.
Because Toyota Gazoo, so they had not been a part of Formula One for a while, and then they came back with Haas. So Toyota is Japanese. I remember speculating it would, because we knew at the time that Honda was moving on to Aston Martin, and we didn't think there would be a seat there. So what happens to Yuki? And, maybe Haas, if they want to stay with, supporting a Japanese driver, if Toyota has any sort of pull about who the seat is, that would not shock me.
I mean, and Haas at this point is mid to bottom field as a team right now. So,
yeah.
I mean,
could be a conversation to be had.
Yeah.
So,
potential, but I mean, there's no concrete ties between Yuki and Toyota. It's just pure speculation at that point.
Yeah, that's just pure speculation because they're
both Japanese.
I don't really know that I see much happening with Cadillac. I definitely think that Cadillac seems to be leaning. The rumors are Perez and Bottas.
Part of me is like, I'm not mad about, but the other part of me is like, I thought part of the bringing a new, because we speculated forever ago that with Cadillac coming on, they're probably going to go for a driver lineup that's more experience based, that, so they would go for somebody like a Bottas, that they could have somebody with experience helping to develop the team in its early stages and giving them some leadership in terms of just kind of everyone gelling and figuring out how to run a Formula One team.
Yeah.
It's helpful to not have a rookie in that driver in that scenario. So we kind of speculated that a while ago. So I'm not surprised at that lineup, but part of me is like, well, kind of one of the exciting things about having an 11th F1 team on the grid is that you have 2 more seats for 2 more drivers. And I know that there seems to be like a hunger for new talent and making room for new talent.
Depends how, God, we already got like 5 of
them. I know. We had so many rookies this year.
And honestly, like, which I know this isn't what we're talking about, but I mean, Perez comes with so much money. It's not a bad thing. But yeah, so it'll be interesting to see how this plays out the rest of the season. It'll be interesting to see Spa and to see what can Mekies do in the few months they have left, which, I mean, honestly, he's going to just be probably having to concentrate so hard on just restructuring things. I don't think this is going to be an overnight fix, but I think it seems to me that Red Bull has pretty much accepted that they have to rebrand, they have to restructure, and it doesn't seem that they expect to change something overnight. They're trying to change their future.
Yeah, Mekies has got a lot on his plate to handle right now because he's going to have to manage the team through the rest of this season while simultaneously making changes internally within the company to, make hiring decisions and moving people around, promotions,
Yeah.
whatever, to kind of restructure things and looking forward. So he's got a lot on his plate, but he's done a lot of this stuff before.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of experience doing it. So hopefully he's up to the task, and we shall see what we end up with at the end of this season and where Red Bull stands.
So just to recap things, Christian Horner's gone from Red Bull, Mekies is in Red Bull, and Permane is in Racing Bulls. So
and Yuki Tsunoda's future is up in the air.
It's questionable. So, guys, that pretty much wraps all this up. What do you think of these changes? It seems the internet didn't really care, but what do you guys think? Do you think this was the right call? I get the feeling it probably was, but it's still kind of sad to see someone's legacy sort of end on a sour note, though.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But anyway, guys, we will talk at you next time after Spa.
Bye.
Bye.